Good evening, everyone. To the 30-odd people who are inside and a couple of hundreds outside, greetings from Tamil Nadu. Today we have an author who comes from the tip of India. Mr. Jeyamohan's native is Kanyakumari, Nagargol to be precise, but it's in the tip of India. From there all the way up to the northeast, we bring Jeyamohan. Jeyamohan, much has been said in the short intro that has been given already. Jeyamohan is prodigious in his output. He is one of the probably the largest volume of work he has in Tamil. Apart from Venmurasu, which is his magnum opus, like mentioned, 26 volumes. It's a Ramanov law based on Mahabharata, interpreted by Jeyamohan, 26 volumes, 25,000 pages, 250,000 words. Okay, it's probably the longest. I don't know which one is the longest. I have to Google that. I haven't done that yet. So apart from that, Jeyamohan, and I'm going to give you a small sketch so that you understand the gentleman you are talking to and conversing with. He is a tour de force in Tamil literature. He has broken many molds, opened new gates, set new paths, and then overall set Tamil literature on fire for the past 25 years. During Corona, when people couldn't come out, he used his website, jeyamohan.in, which is visited by about 25,000 people on a casual day, and close to 1 lakh if something is brewing, a new story or a new novel, close to 1 lakh. He wrote 139 stories at 1 a day. That is, his blogs have 5 or 6 posts at 12, starting at 12 midnight every day without fail. And he started by writing 1 story each. The idea was people were not able to come out of their homes. Many were depressed. The only way to find solace for readers is to read. And then even if you want to read, you have to order online. Nobody knew when it is going to come. The couriers were affected. So he said, I'm going to write. And he started with 1 story, ended up with 139, which includes a novella, right? Huge following for those stories. They were actually, many of those stories have been made into anthologies. Now we have about 10 or 12 volumes which have been published by Vishnupuram Publications. So that's the gentleman whom we are going to converse with. The novel in question that we are talking about is called Abyss. Abyss is from the Tamil novel called Elam Ulagam, which means the 7th netherworld in Indian mythology. You have Adalam, Vidalam, Karadalam, like that. The 7th netherworld is what we are going to talk about. It's a world of beggars and people who maintain those beggars, the life of those folk. Okay, and it's an interesting fact that he chose to write this. And I'm going to ask him, the first question today is, how did you come to write about this theme?
Good evening, everybody. I am from Kanyakumari, which is 3,500 kilometers from here. We invited a lot of Northeastern writers to our place, and they are participated in our functions. So I am here to see you all. About this novel, Abyss. This is based on my personal experiences. While I am a beggar living in the streets 30 years back, 30 or 40 years back, I left my home at the age of 22, and I became a mendicant, sannyasi, in Kashi, in Uttar Kashi and Rishikesh. Later I returned to Tamil Nadu, and I was a beggar in Palani. And I know very well the life of beggars, the world of beggars. And I was in a spiritual quest at that time. And I met my guru. And I asked him to give me some way to attain salvation. I asked him to make me as a Vivekananda. And he said, writing is your way of meditation. You can attain your liberation only through literature. That is the way of your personality. So I choose to write. And I write a lot. I wrote a novel, Vishnupuram, and a lot of short stories and a collection of articles. And one day, I was traveling through a misty day. I was suddenly invoked a memory about a person who is a major character in this novel. His name is Timappan. Timappan is a Kannada guy. He is a leprosy patient, and he is a beggar. He was a beggar. And I think he is one of a great soul I ever met. He is a highly spiritual person, extremely intelligent and kind. And that memory moved me. So I immediately returned to my home. I started to write this novel. I completed this novel within 6 days and sent it directly to my publisher, and he published it within 6 days, and it appeared in the stall within 15 days. And from that day, that novel is considered one of the classics in Tamil, and it is being made of a movie called Nan Kadavul. I wrote the script of that movie, and that movie won few President's Awards and Best Award for Director. And still, the movie became old, but novel never became old. So even today, the novel is considered one of the most selling and most discussed works in Tamil. I am happy to recollect and registered my colleagues and my gurus who lived as beggars 30 years back. Thank you.
I'm going to start by quoting a few lines at the beginning of the novel. I can't sleep. I felt a belly when I left at 9. It was moving, restless. It has descended, was heavy like. And there was some water leaking too. She will birth before dawn. I'm sure the signs point to me. Kumaresan is there with her, isn't he? He would be drunk to his gills. He wouldn't know if an elephant carved in front of him. What is it to him if a mongrel made away with a sprog? This is talking about a person called Pothivelu Pandaram. Name is Pothivelu. Pandaram is a guy who is associated as a priest with small deities, and he also does temple work in some of the temples. That caste is called Pandaram, right? You listen to these words, you would think that a cow is going to give birth, but no. Pandaram maintains a group of beggars. One of them is going to give birth to her 18th child, and those are called items in his language. Not people, items. She is going to give birth to the 18th child, and he is talking about that. And he prays to God. He thanks God once the child has been born. And then it is again, right? That lady's name is Muttammai. She is disfigured. She is paired with people who are disfigured so that they could get disfigured children and could be sold for a profit. How did you come out with a character like Pandaram? Was he real, or you had to fill a gap, so you imagined him?
See, in a place like Sabarimala, which is a very popular holy place in Kerala, you can see a lot of nearly thousands of beggars up in the hill, the top of the mountain. They cannot walk there. They cannot come there on their own. So there is a system to bring them there, to place them, and to collect the money. And there is a revenue system working around them. It's very easy to judge. You can see a lot of beggars in Haridwar and Rishikesh. They cannot live on their own. there is a system to maintain them. There is a system to collect the alms, and there is a financial system to manage all these things. There are a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of wealthy people, even in Kashi. There are some contractors who maintained these items in the streets and collecting money. And I personally know a lot of these kind of persons, contractors. And this person, Pandaram, is actually a real person. I know him personally. He worked on Padani. Padani is a hill station in Tamil Nadu. It's a holy place. But I changed his identity and I placed him in my place in Kanyakumari district. That's the only difference I made in this novel. And two myths are there. One thing is there should be some kind of guilty feeling among these kind of contractors. No, they are just traders. They have no guilty feeling, and they are actually very devotees of God. They give alms to people. They have children, and this Pothivelu Pandaram in this novel is a very, very, very loving father, and he has a deep affection for his own children, and he's a very good father and a very good citizen, and he has absolutely no guilty feeling, and he has every justifications for doing this. And the second myth is the beggars is always unhappy and they are in pain or in a penury. That's not true. Throughout this novel, you can see the items are very happy. They have their own community. They have fun, and they have philosophical and intellectual discourse among them. That's an entirely different world. You cannot sit in them with them. You cannot sit in the world. But it's an entirely different world. So I tried to depict that world in this novel. And you can see, even in the movie, Nan Kadavul, you can see the laughing faces of beggars throughout the movie. They used to tease the civilians. They used to tease us. You cannot understand the way they tease us. See, one of a beggar in this novel, he is asking alms to a lady. He is calling him as Lakshmi Devi. Then after she passing at that place, he calls her as Jyoti Lakshmi. She was an item dancer in Tamil movies, and immediately all the beggars began to laugh at her. They have no respect for the civilians who give alms to them. They used to tease. They used to make fun of us, and I am created that world in this novel.
Yeah, that part is in the movie. That come out really nicely. Even in translation, it goes with like generous lady Lakshmi, oh Mata, please give me alms, and then she passes by without giving alms, said Jyoti Lakshmi, Udevi, giving me alms. Same tone. Okay, nobody can figure it out whether he is actually begging or cursing. So that whimsical attitude, that seeing fun in every single thing is unique to this novel. It is not a sad novel. It is a very, very elementally raw novel, but it is not a sad novel. It delves into the people's world, and that is possible because he lived in it once, not because somebody told him, not because he saw it one fine day. He lived that life. So that shades of gray, not 50 shades of gray, come from that his experience. Now we are moving on to the another quote. There is another group of item menders who are coming into town. They are from Kerala. Like, Kerala is politically aware, where Pothivelu or Pandaram calls his beggars as items. That fellow calls them as comrades. Okay, the guy who's helping them is a comrade. The beggar is a comrade, and every single item on their group is called a comrade. So it's farcical, but it gives you a feeling of how people mask their trade and mask their feelings so that and continue doing the same thing. Here is another quote. They're talking about, if you ever plan to sell the buffalo, said Cochin, as they climbed up the steps, you can set the price, I'll buy her. The answer comes, not until a year. It has not been a week since she pushed out the young one. They're talking about Muthammai, who was just given birth to the 18th child. And, that is being used for begging and then probably might be sold for a profit. Now, many times in your work and in many of your novels and short stories, you bring in this, the slant of Kerala into this and, humor that is particular to them. Is it because your town borders Kerala or half of your people are Keralites? How does it come through?
My mother tongue is Malayalam and I am writing in Tamil. And my place is the border of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And we use both languages alike. And we use Malayalam for fun. And there is a lot of funny elements in Malayalam. And in my opinion, Malayalam is good language for making fun of people. It has a deriding note in almost every word. You can see it in the Malayalam movies also. So I use that Malayalam terminology to tease people and to make fun of them. So that's a particular hue in my works. And my readers are very, very accustomed to that kind of fun. Well, not simple fun. I hate jokes because I think in a creative work, jokes has no place. And I have no respect for parody or satire. And even satire is not a good thing for literature. Literature is made up of humor. Humor is a fun with a philosophical or spiritual element is called humor. Humor is something bigger than joke or satire. So there is no satire in this novel. It has a spiritual thing throughout this humor. Say one place, a prostitute is going up to the temple and she is coming back. And one beggar asking, why she is going there? There's nobody there in the temple. And another one says, Sri Muruga is there and he is alone. So this kind of fun is not just a fun, it's something more. So the fun of Mullah Nasruddin is not fun, it is humor. So I use humor throughout the novel. That for humor I use Malayalam because it's the language of fun and a lot of cultural connotations in that usages. I think they are translated very well in this English version.
Right. There is an exchange of items between this guy from Kerala and Pandaram's items. Okay, some are bought, some sold. Whatever is the deficit is made up of in money. Okay, and there is a little child, not a child, she's a lady called Kuruvi, retarded, very limited faculties, and she is being sold to this guy from Kerala. There is another item called Ramapan, who is a leper, who immediately says, "Sell me too, sell me too." She is like my daughter. Don't separate us. We've been together for 5 years, and that little child weeps in his lap. Do you really think that beggars, do they really become close, nurture?
See, this beggar's life is a small world, small, indigenous, small, unique world. And it is a world which has all character features of the larger world. It's a drop of world. Take every world, is a world of car mechanics, a world of books and less. Every world has the same drama, the same spiritual and intellectual and social problems in that small bubble. So I narrated the life not to evoke pittiness from the readers. I never tried to do this. I'm writing novels only to evoke spiritual and intellectual enlightenment in my readers. See, I never bothered about selling my books. I never bothered about to promote my books. But still, I am the most successful and most selling author in Tamil. Because I can talk to my reader. I can change the life of my reader. And I know thousands of readers who changed by me, by my works. So I'm trying to communicate with the soul of the reader. I have to answer the spiritual questions of the reader, and I am here to answer some kind of restlessness which has inside the reader. So in this novel, I never try to invoke any kind of pittiness or sympathy on the beggars. It is a unique world. You can see all problems of humanities in the small world. I remember one novel written by William Golding. The name is, I forget the novel. Lord of Flies. A Lord of Flies. And that's a fiction about a small set of students who lost in sea by a shipwreck. They take refuge in a small island. They created a small society in that island. And he narrated that small society has all kind of evils of humanity. And after a few years, the humanity rediscovers that island. They found a rotten society there with violence, sexual abuses, and wars and communal clashes and everything there. That's the story of Lord of Flies. That same story is actually later, few years after 20 years, a person made a research on the original theme of this novel. William Golding got Nobel Prize for that novel. And in that novel, he refers the real incident where a set of students, for both male and female, take refuge in a small island, and they created their own community there. But unlike in this novel, in reality, they created a very healthy, very prospering society there. That's the reality. That's the core of humanity. Throughout the modernism, the modernistic period, I am not telling about modernity, but the modernism, the modernistic period, writers have a negative feeling on humanity. They always depicted humanity in a negative color. They have an illusion that humanity is doomed forever. As you know, Kafka or Camus or Sartre, they had that illusion that humanity has only id, kama, krodha, mohas only. So humanity cannot prosper us. It is going to ruin. And Sartre or Camus never lived as a beggar, but I lived as a beggar. But I know, I am coming from the lowest level. I know that humanity is not going to perish, and humanity has higher values that any modernist writer can assume. So in this novel also, there is a spiritual person called Mangandi Sami. He is the core of this novel. In this small world, you can find kama, krodha, moha. I mean, sex, violence, and desire for power. But in spite of all that, there is a spiritual core. There is an element of spirituality in that life, which makes even in this life as colorful and wonderful, really wonderful. I enjoyed that life. Even today, while sitting before you, I enjoyed I can remember that those days with the happiness, because it's a they are very good people. There is a very very pleasant days with them. Because man can find a good place to live in any place, in any level. So I narrated that pleasant world in this novel. In spite of all the tortures, all the exploitations, and very low condition of life, there's a lot of sorrows and everything. But still, humanity can find a place to thrive in any place. That's I told in this novel.
To take this up further, the interest in humanity, let's say a beggar's interest in the rest of the humanity, can take many forms. Here is a quote from the novel. The items have been exchanged from the Kerala team. Pandaram buys a particular item called Ahmad Kuti. Ahmad Kuti has grossly swollen testicles. That is his display item to select men to make their primal urge to donate. Okay, and he is very choosy. He wins every time. He gets a lot of arms. And that Ahmad Kuti has a few conditions before he changes hands. Being a true communist, he says, I want a copy of Matrubhumi every day. That's a newspaper, Malayalam newspaper. I want BDs. I want to be fed well. I want to be treated well. In return, I'll give you earnings. It's a very nice deal. And that gentleman is talking to the rest of the people here, and he says, look here, Ahmad struck the newspaper forcefully with his hand. See what they have done. They are selling Kerala by weight. For a measly 1,000 crore, they are selling our emerald silked Malayalam lands, sons of bitches. Who? I tell you the whole story from the beginning. Do you know ADB? Ahmad Kuti is asking a fellow beggar. So that guy is saying, IDP? IDP is a name. IDP? No, not EDP. ADB, Asian Development Bank. Okay. So this beggar who is sitting on the foothills or the steps of Parni is reaches that much. His way of making fun of the rest of the humanity or to show that he cares is through politics and humor. Where does this humor come from, sir?
I think I already said they have a teasing note on the entire life, the beggars. See, in even Non-Kadavul movie, there is a dialogue. It's a very, very popular dialogue. In it, they named a beggar as Ambani. His name is Ambani. He is a small person. He's a beggar. And his name is Ambani. There's a humor in it. Naming a person as Ambani among the beggars has a humor element in it. And I can remember a lot of thousands of fun, humor from their life. They used to call a person named is Rajinikanth. In this
a small child, Mutamma's 18 child is called Rajinikanth.
Rajinikanth. They used to call Rajinikanth Kushbu, and that's their life. That's the way to express their irreverence towards us people.
Moving on again, there is an observation, I mean not in the book but in the interview that follows with Suchitra, who is a translator of this book, about beggars' relationship with dogs. He said the beggars give half of what they are given to their dogs. Many of them have dogs, rear dogs, and then when food is given to them, they eat and then at least give half of that to the dog, or they give it to the dog and they starve themselves. It creates a feeling of aversion between the people who give those alms. Could you please explain this kind of a relation? Where does it come from?
Many of the beggars, wandering beggars, are extremely lonely persons sometimes. Some are small communities, some are very lonely persons. These lonely persons usually have a dog. It's a permanent companion. It's the only relation. It's an entire world besides them. You can see dogs with the homeless in US also. In New York, almost every homeless has a dog with them. Last time I was in US 1 month back, I saw a homeless sitting in New York City with a placard before him, 2 hungry stomachs. And beside that, placard, there is a dog. This is Labrador Retriever. He is sitting there very happily, and I saw an expression in his face that not really. So I can see throughout the world, homeless and beggars always have dogs with them. And they need an unconditional love. They need a permanent companion throughout their journey. So that's why they have dogs with them. And no other human being can be with the leper patient without any expression in their eyes. You may be a kind person, you may be a generous person, but when you are looking at a leper patient, immediately you showed something in your eyes. Within seconds, with a flicker of seconds, you show something. After that, it will not be a good relation between you and them. But not a dog. Dog has no inhibitions with them. So naturally, they have dogs. And I am very satisfied to see a dog with a homeless or a beggar. See, a dog. He is a representative of the entire humanity and the entire universe. And at least a dog is with him. And it is a God with him. It is his personal God. So, and I want to say that word to them, that, well, I cannot be with you, but at least there is a dog with you. I am that dog. At least for this moment, I am the dog.
That's a good one. And again, going back to that interview, while discussing the novel, you tell Suchitra, let us have an acid test for people. Whether it's a beggar or an ordinary person, you dip people and then see what remains. What remains is a humanism and spirituality. He said, is this conviction that urged you to write about beggars in detail like this?
See, in Western literature, you can see a lot of Holocaust writing, thousands of books. And my favorite author is Primo Levi. Once he was asked, why you are writing again and again this Holocaust? Do you want to record it as a major human incident? And he said, no. Holocaust or these or hard work camps or torture camps are places, laboratories for acid test of humanity. How humans behave in a particular situation which is extremely negative. In an extremely negative condition, how humans behave and what is the residue of humanity in it. So it's a place. So this beggar's life is a place where we can make an acid test for humanity. What is the core of humanity? What is a core of human being? What you can find in a human being in an extremely negative condition. And I'm very contented to say that I saw humanity, love, and generosity in that extremely negative conditions. I saw great people. I saw extremely polite and perfect gentlemen among the beggars, and people with great wisdom. So that's the core of humanity. So you a human being in a gas chamber, you can put him in a beggar's place and anywhere. But humanity is always the same. It has a core. It's a basic metal in humanity, which is made up of gold, that I believe.
Thank you. And the relationship between Pandaram and his three daughters, his wife, three daughters. He has three daughters, very fond of the littlest one. He returns from Palni in the middle of the night after bumper harvest of selling, buying, collecting arms and all that. He's made plenty of money. The police beat him up and then steal some of it. Okay, he saves the rest, deposits in his bank, and then returns in the midnight. His youngest one has asked him to buy a set of bangles. It does not mention whether it is gold or not, just bangles. And he forgets. As soon as he enters the home, The youngest one actually searches his bag for those bangles, and once she finds that it is not there, she cries her heart out and goes to sleep crying. This gentleman, in the middle of the night, takes bath, puts on his shirt, travels all of about 100 kilometers to another place, goes to a goldsmith, wakes him up at around 4 o'clock in the night, gets 2 bangles made. It is actually made for another bride. He alters that, pays the money, comes, places them right next to the youngest one's face, saying that when she gets up, she's going to see this. His wife says, "Are you mad? Are you mad? Why you pamper girls like this? Now it's up to no good." She says, "No, she's my youngest one. She asked, I didn't do it. I'm going to give it." How does a man like Pandaram, who treats many people as items, can have the same love for his own daughters?
A few years back, I was in an Austerwitz gas chambers in Austria. See, thousands of people being tortured and killed in that place. They tortured and killed in that place. But who did that murders? Simple employees, not tyrants, not psychopaths. Ordinary soldiers and ordinary employees did all the murders, all the executions in that place. They went to their office at 10 o'clock morning. They signed in an attendance register. They entered into the service. They killed 1,000 or 2,000 people every day. And they returned to their home. They have children. They worried about their bonus. They did everything as we did in our home. They have pleasant houses. So what happening in their soul? In one place, Pandaram is praying with God. He says, "What wrong thing I did to others? I am a pious person. I am doing right things. So why all this happening to me?" That's a natural question everybody asks. So you can easily normalize anything in your life. Any sin, any bad thing, any immoral thing, you can normalize it, even in the due course of your life. So Pandaram has absolutely no guilty feeling because he doesn't know anything about his sin or his trade. He is doing it with complete faith on it, and he has a good will for doing all this. So he is a very, very, very loving and very passionate father, naturally, like all other fathers. So that's the story. That's the actual dichotomy in our humanity. We are killers, and we are good fathers and good husbands. That's all.
Which takes me very neatly into the next question I wanted to ask. You're an interpret traveler, compulsive traveler as it is. 20 days a month you're away from home, either on work. He is a very very busy screenplay writer now. Okay, some of the biggest hits in Tamil are being penned by him. Some he lends his name, some he doesn't. But he is one of the most successful film writers. But he finds time for his literary work, literary gatherings. We have 3 big festivals every year for literature. And apart from that, he has his own quest. So he travels to temples, not for the gods in them, but for the sculpture and culture. And then he goes to places of interest. He's been to Meghalaya at least 3 or 4 times by now. He has done the entire Northeast. Okay, you name a place, he's been there. He's been to 30 different countries. When you visit places which were the birthplace of this particular novel, like Tiruvannamalai and Palani, what comes to your mind?
The first thing is the unique character of that place. Every place has its own unique character. So, while I am wandering through Shillong, I can see some kind of unique elements in this small city, some kind of fruits. See, almost every small vendors are women. That's a very strange thing in Shillong. Almost every vendors here are women, and we cannot see much women in Tamil Nadu. That's one thing, for example. And another thing is there is a continuity throughout the globe, continuous culture. I saw a lot of graffitis today in Shillong, strange kind of graffitis, you know. There's a graffiti culture which emerged from Philadelphia, and it is invading in every place in the globe. It's a particular moment. I think you know about Banksy, a painter, a graffiti painter. He's not a person, he's an identity only. We don't know who is this. There's a nameless artist, as a single nameless artist who has a lot of faces throughout the globe. And you can see a lot of strange graffiti even in Shillong. And they had a tendency to react to the power. So that naturally this graffiti is appearing in every place where there is a symbol of power. In the walls of collector office, you can see the graffiti. So I saw the graffiti in Shillong today. I had a feeling that it's a place in the world. There's a connectivity with New York, in Shillong. So I never collect details voluntarily from streets or from books, but I have a memory collection in me while I am traveling throughout the world. I have a lot of anecdotes and more images. I mean, just visual images or sound images of a city or a place. While I am writing, it emerges automatically into my mind. I cannot remember it while I am telling it, but I can remember it while I am writing. In a way, creativity is we can call it as enhanced memory. Enhanced memory is called creativity. It's an extraordinary memory only. You cannot say I wrote Mahabharata in 26,000 pages and nearly 2 or 3 lakhs words. But I never referred the original Mahabharata, even once. I wrote the entire Mahabharata, nearly 5,000 characters, from my memory only. I cannot remember it now, but I can easily remember every word, every place while I am writing. So I am writing an imaginary city called Hastinapuri. So Karna is traveling in Hastinapuri on a horse. It's morning, or it is in the noon. Where will be the shadow at that time? How can you remember that? Where will be the shadow? And which direction this shadow will be? In which place the building? In which place the pond? The entire city is in my memory. So this enhanced memory is made up of thousands of details I am collecting from the entire India. I began my travels at the age of 18. While I am studying my pre-university, I left my home and made a travel throughout Tamil Nadu. And from that time, every year I am traveling. Actually, the continuous 6 months I made no travel is the days of COVID days only. In the entire my life, I was in a single place for more than 6 months is the COVID period. So I was a avid traveler. I was traveling is a kind of not a as my wife says, it's a mental sickness for me for traveling. So I travel all the places throughout India, US, Europe, Japan and Australia and all that places. But I'm collecting my subconscious inputs from the streets of the world. That's the only way I can say that.
That's fantastic. Just to put that into perspective, the Vishnupuram Literary Circle, which was founded by his friends, has readers from close to 100 different countries in the world. Okay, and for 13 years we have conducted a literary festival, and many of the Northeast writers, now we don't want to club them as a Northeastern writer, but we thought a focused attempt on discovering Northeast and its culture and its writers would do good. So what we do is every year for 5 years we brought one Northeast writer. Janice has graced us. Janvi Barua has come through. Mamang Dai has come there. Mary Kakalang has been to our place. And our sessions are, like I explained yesterday, we have a crowd of about 300 to 400 for every session. It's in a Kalyana Mandapam. Okay, it's a marriage hall. A-seat marriage hall, 400 people seated neck to neck. 3 months ahead, they are given the syllabus of who is going to come. If Janice comes, we have translated our boats on land into Tamil, called Nelathin Padagugal. 10 people translated that. We made that into a book, made it available. They read and come. Okay, so, and the question and answer sessions are very, very sharp. Just to, I'm deviating, but I'm just making a point here. Janice had spoken about how the Meghalaya society is matrilineal, where women have more power. And she was jokingly said, after the church days, men would wait to meet the father and cry and say, my wife has done this, my wife has left me, I am now jobless, homeless, and all that. Part came a question from a reader. We have not seen that reader often, okay? And he has just come there after reading it. His question was very relevant. He said, I read all your stories. In none of those stories that matrilineal aspect is there. Why? Okay? So that comes from being focused and being devoted to your reading, right? And I don't have the prodigious memory of Jay, so I don't exactly remember what Janice answered, but that was a convincing answer because he didn't ask anything further. So, but this is a kind of interaction that e-masterminds. We have 3 awards every year, and our primary award is going to happen in December 16th and 17th, which is the Vishnupuram Literary Award. Okay, and this year it carries a prize of 5 lakhs, and you know, it doesn't end there. There are going to be 10 panelists, not panelists, 10 authors who will be given 1 hour each. All their works are being read. Okay, when it comes to the awardee, we not only read his works, we collect essays about him and make it into a book. We create a documentary also for posterity. Okay, so tomorrow somebody asks, who is this awardee? They know because there is a body of evidence over there. And you know, strange thing is 4 or 5, this is the 13th year we are doing this. At least 4 or 5 of our awardees, after we declare them as eligible for Vishnupuram Awards, have been given Sahitya Academy. So we can say we are front runners in at least some of that. And every single paisa that comes in is from individuals. We don't have any corporate sponsors. We are proud of it. We want to keep it that way. There's a lot of suspicion about us because we don't collect corporate sponsorship. So anybody who doesn't do corporate has to be for some, you know, some subterranean or subaltern world. No, we are there for literature, and you know, we have enough wherewithal to sustain that. If you people happen to land up in that parts, do visit us. And I'm getting back to with one final observation on the novel. You were talking about, you know, ordinary soldiers gassing people and feeling normalized about it. Is it the same normalization? Why doesn't it happen to Pandaram when he meets another group of people who kidnap children and disfigure them? Okay, these guys, there is a difference. Pandaram and others actually create disfigured people. They don't disfigure normal children. But there is another group which kidnaps people, pours acid, beats their faces into pulp using an hammer, and then sell them for a good profit. Pandaram is taken to one such place and he runs out with revulsion. For a person who could normalize almost anything, why doesn't he normalize this?
See, you can meet any person in a street. You talk with him. Immediately he begins to tell a story about him.
Yeah.
People have a story for their life. So they used to tell, see, I am a kind of person like this. I'm living in like this. I have a life perception like this. Everybody has a philosophy. Everybody has a story actually. A story, and he is the protagonist of the story. He cannot go beyond that story. Pandara has a story about himself, that he says, I am actually supporting these items. They cannot walk. So I am feeding them. I am giving a life to them. So I am a good person. I am doing everything they wanted in their life. It is his story, and he cannot go beyond that story. So that guys who disfigures these young children, they may have their own story. They narrate the story to themselves for ample times, and slowly they began to believe it. Every story you believe is narrated by yourself to you. That's the limit of Pandara. It is beyond his story. That's the thing. Everybody has their own story. See, Israel has its own story. Hamas has their own story. That's happening in every personal life.
Okay, there was a nod saying 10 minutes and we are going to be on time. So I'm going to end with 2 quotes from the novel, and I'm going to open it up for questions. This is from Jeyamohan himself. This novel was written by this is not a novel that advocates sympathy or humanitarianism. This novel was written by a man who was a beggar himself, who was a part of that society. It gives the reader the experience of being one of them. It allows the reader to live in the novel as a fellow beggar and makes him understand their jokes and games and their friendship, love and sorrow, their violence and their death from the inside. This is from the author. And this is what the translator had to say. The humanism in Nabis goes beyond any revolutionary conception of man. It gives the reader insight into the essential beauty and nobility of human beings. Being in this novel was an awe-inspiring experience. Through this translation, I hope I have shared some of that experience with the English reader. The success of that novel is the author and the translator being in sync, having caught the gist and the essence of the novel and created it in the first place, translated that into a novel. I think that is where the success of this novel comes. Thank you, sir. Now I open this to questions. Feel free. I'll spot and call. Yes, young lady.
Good
Please,
evening, Sir Jeyamohan. It's a pleasure and an honor to see you here. And good evening, Sir Senthil as well. It's a pleasure to hear you speak. I'm currently reading your book, Stories of the True, and it has affected. I can see, although it's a translated version, yet it has the power to affect the reader in a lot of ways. It's very philosophical. And particularly this story, palm leaf cross, that is something that I'm relating to. So I just want to understand one thing, that you typically write in Tamil, but when it is translated, a lot of the sentiments, a lot of the feelings, it may or may not come into the picture. Of course, the translators try to do a very good job, but how do you derive satisfaction in the fact that your feelings and emotions that you try to portray while you write in Tamil is also then given to the readers who read in English?
Thank you. One thing I have to say, see, I have trouble in speaking in English, but I am reading in English for more than 40 years continuously. I am a very avid reader. I am a major critic in Tamil. 30 years back, my guru, P.K. Balakrishnan, told me, a good writer always immerse a single language. You should not write or you should not think in 2 languages. So I usually avoid to think or speak my mother tongue, which is Malayalam. I used to think, write and imagine only in Tamil. So I have a very strong reservations on speaking English and expressing myself in English. So I express myself in Tamil, which has a lot of nuances, wordplays, and see, not exactly wordplay. every word is a symbol or every word is a poetic image. Using a particular word means a lot for a writer. But you cannot translate it into another language, naturally. But there is a popular saying that a work which is completely translatable is not a good work. A work which is not completely translatable is not also a good work. There is a middle path. See, I am a very great reader of I consider Tolstoy as my guru. But I read him through translations only. I cannot read Russian. So Mrs. Garnett translated Tolstoy into English, and she left a lot of nuances. Nowadays, there is a lot of criticism on her. Garnett dismissed a lot of portions. She never considered a lot of worldly expressions of Tolstoy. But she brought a version of Tolstoy in English, which is very universal now. So, this Stories of the True or the Abyss is not exactly the original in Tamil. It's actually a replica of my original work. I won't expect anything from them more than make a replica. For your information, I never read the translations because it is in English, and English is a very, very addictive language, English is a very addictive language, and it has an entirely different sentence structure, and English has an entirely different syntax. So, if you are falling in begin to read the original translations, this will affect your language. So, I want to dream in my language, and I have a strong reservations on the cliches of English. See, I never use the word marginalized in this discourse. So easily I can use that word marginalized. This is about people of marginalized. Marginalized is a technical term used by every person sitting in a literary dais using marginalized, third world, and modern, and all the similar globalization, global warming, and whatnot. A lot of technical terms you may know that. So I won't never use that kind of words because I'm very sensitive on words. So I never use these kind of cliches in my original language. I am very conscious on that. So as you say, there is a person which cannot. There is a percentage which can be translated in any good work. Particularly, the storyline can be translated easily. The basic metaphors and the basic images, poetic images, can be translated easily. All other things cannot be translated. Even in poetry, a narrative poetry cannot be translated in any other language. But the storyline, the poetic images can be translated to in any language. So, that's only possible in any translation. Thank you.
Thank you. Much as we would like to have a few more questions, I think the Honorable CM is on the way, and I have been asked to, make that the final question. Mr. Jeyamohan is pretty much here. He is going to wait outside. So are his books. We have Stories of the True and Abyss just outside waiting. Ms. Meenambigai, you can get it from Ms. Meenambigai. Please feel free. And thank you for your time. Thank you for being here on a chilly evening and then, listening to Jeyamohan. I'm sure you would have listened to a master. I have that conviction. I've been with him for 13 plus years. I'm pretty sure that after you read his works, you will be convinced too. Thank you.